All right. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to your tutorial. So just a few quick announcements. To those who could not write the practical test SSA due to I think it was a religious holiday. Um, so the I think if the date has not been provided on Eve, just keep looking at Eve, but it will be next week, um, sometime next week, and then the semester test 3 SSA is next week Monday, um, on the 31st. Yeah, so that's gonna be from I think from 8. Yeah, if I remember correctly. But everything will be posted on Eve. So just keep track on that. Yeah, so we are aiming to release the semester 2 marks tomorrow. So hopefully that will happen. Oh yeah, so the 31st is on Tuesday. Yeah, that is correct. Okay, so yeah, so I think we only did question 1 yesterday. So we'll continue from question 2. Okay, so remember also late submissions for practical X um, are due tomorrow at 12. So if you did not submit practical X, you can still submit it, but it will be capped at 50%. So um, that's the condition. Okay, so no, I think we did this. So we did discuss when would you use continue instead of break. So remember, you use the continue keyword if you want the loop to go to the next iteration. You use the break keyword when you want the loop to terminate completely. Okay, and then analyze the following Java code segments and answer the questions that follow. So, so we have all of these variable declarations. And then, so this says Java has strict rules for identifiers. Some identified in the code segment above. Break those rules, indicate the line where the problem occurs and what the error is on that line. So which of these lines break the rules for identifiers? Yeah, so anyone wants to try? Yes. Okay, so line 3, what is wrong with line 3? Yes, so you can't have a variable named null, right? So that is correct. So line 3 breaks the rule. Okay, someone else says line 2. That is correct. Line 2 is incorrect because you can't have an identifier that starts with a number. And then line 6 is also not correct because an identifier cannot start with false, right? So all those 3 are correct, and it's out of 6 marks. So you have to provide the line number and you have to provide the reason, right? So then you get your 6 marks. Okay, so provide Java source code to reference the standard input stream. So how do you reference the standard input stream in Java? Okay, so remember, standard output stream is system.out, standard error stream is system.err, standard input stream is system.in, right? So basically you get a mark for just writing system.in. And then text processing and persistence. So can an object output stream be used to read binary data? Provide a reason for your answer. So this one is very straightforward. Obviously, an object output stream can be used to read binary data. No, actually no. it's used to write binary data, right? So it deals with binary data, but for writing, not for reading. So you get 1 mark for saying that no, that is not true, and then 2 marks for providing a reason, right? So object output stream is for writing and not reading. That's 2 marks, right? So that's that. And then let's look at the next one. So provide the full name of the interface which a class must implement in order for that class to be written to a file using an object output stream, right? So remember, in order for a class to be written to the file by an object output stream, the file has to implement the serializable interface, right? So the line to provide here would be, let's just do this. So the line would be Java or the interface serializable, right? So that's the full name of the interface, right? In order for the output stream to write it to a file. And then provide a regular expression that matches all the dates in the following format, right? So we have all of these dates. So let's see, let's try to find a regular expression. Okay, so first of all, we have 2 digits. So even if it's 1 or 2, it's still 2 digits. So 0 to 9, 2 times, space. Oh, no space. So we have the TH. Let me just do this, just to make sure I am not getting anything wrong. Yeah, so regex tester. Let's just paste it there. Get the take this one. Yeah, so, oh yeah, it shouldn't be that. So that should work. That should also work. So if you just write it out directly. And then, so the first one has to be an uppercase. And then it has to be lowercase characters. And then a space. And then, so this is always 4 digits, right? So that matches the regular expression. So you get your marks for that. And in terms of the mark allocation, so the first part, which is the day, then you get a mark for that. The second part is the month. You get a mark for that. And then the third part is the year. You get a mark for that. And then if they're all correct, then you get 2 marks. Then that's your 5 marks, right? Because this is 3 different sections, right? So 1 for each section. So let's just go back to this. So 1 for this section, 1 for that section, 1 for that section. And if they are all correct, then you get the 2 marks. Okay, so object orientation. So analyze the following Java code segments and answer the questions that follow. So we have a class called, what about the third? Oh yeah. So let me just check. I don't think this will match everything. So let's just take all of them and put them here. Yeah, so these ones don't match. So then we need to do this. So TH or RD or ST or ND, right? And that is because those are the only ones you can possibly have, right? You can't have any other one than that, right? So it's always either the first, second, third, and then all the other ones are TH, right? Um, you can do this as well. So this is also allowed, but this would have to be strictly twice, and then that would still match, right? So you can do that as well. Okay, so thank you for noting that. I totally missed it. Okay, so that's 5 marks. So object orientation. So create a class called database. And then database has a method called commit. And then you have a class called cloud, which basically accepts any type that extends database, right? So, and then it creates a database and then has save, which basically calls the commits method of the database. And then we have data derived, which extends database, overrides the commit method. So this is abstract and that is abstract. So this is the concrete implementation. And then we have database simulator or simulation, and then cloud, and then we pass the derived class of database, instance, new cloud, and then instance.save, which means that it'll call the db.commit, which will basically do whatever is included there. So we need to identify 5 unique Java programming constructs in the code above. List the line number and the programming construct or principle. So I can start. So for example, in line 1, line 5. Yeah, so actually this is line 5 and 12. So that's generalization. Line 6 is information hiding. Um, line 8 is delegation. And then line 6 is also composition or aggregation or containment. There's a lot of them. So in main, for example, there's line 19, method invocation. Line 18, instantiation. Line 18 is also generics or generic programming, which is also line 5. All right, so uh, there's many of them. This is not all of them. You can find more of them. Okay, so that's that. No, information hiding is not the same as abstraction. Okay, so question 5, graphical user interfaces. So your employer has asked you to help choose between Swing and JavaFX as a Java GUI framework for the company's new project. The company's next projects will be able to run on as many devices as possible. However, they also require the use of some older GUI controls. Um, so the question is, so you must discuss whether or not Swing or JavaFX must be used. Which parts of Swing are well suited to what the employer wants? Which parts of JavaFX are well suited to what the employer wants? And which Java GUI framework you would choose, right? So this is a 10-mark question. So you should only, or you should make roughly 10 valid statements, right? So including which framework you would choose, right? So yeah, so this type of problem, so the first thing we need to do here is we need to analyze what's actually happening, right? So they want to choose between these two, but they want to be able to run it on as many devices as possible. So if that is the case, which framework is suitable for running an application on as many devices as possible? Yes, JavaFX, right? So can either Swing or JavaFX be used? Well, JavaFX can be used for that, right? So then we'd mention in the context of, so yes, Swing or JavaFX can be used, but in order for this to run on as many devices as possible, JavaFX would be the best option, right? And then which parts of Swing are well suited to what the employer wants? So which parts is that? If you look at the question, which parts is well suited to what the employer wants? Yes. Yes, that is true, right? The older GUI controls. So that is what the employer wants. So you're going to discuss that. So because the employer wants all the GUI controls, it's better to use Swing because Swing makes use of all the like GUI controls, like such as lightweight components, right? Which can be mapped onto the operating system and all of that stuff, right? That whole story. And then which parts of JavaFX are well suited for what the employer wants? We already mentioned it. The parts of uh, running the application on as many devices as possible, right? Because JavaFX can run on desktop, mobile, and web, right? So that's what you would mention. And you can create web-based components, which means that it's cross-platform. You can run it on any machine because they don't depend on the operating system's components, right? And which Java GUI framework would you choose? Well, I would choose JavaFX. And the reason is, even though the employer wants to make use of some older GUI controls, I think so this is purely like an opinion-based question, but in my case, I would say that because future, like in terms of the future, right? You want the application to run on as many devices as possible, right? So those all the controls, you can find equivalents in JavaFX, even though they are not the older GUI controls, right? But the advantage of JavaFX is that you'll be able to run the application on as many devices as possible. So as long as you provide like, you know, a logical answer, then you get those marks. Okay, so Let's move on. So where are we? Okay, so question 6. Why is line 8 delegation? Remember, so delegation, that is delegation because the work of saving is not done by the container class, but it's done by the commit method of the contained class. Okay, so with respect to inner classes in Java, provide source code for instantiating a non-static inner class from outside the containing um, outer class. So remember with inner classes, so let's just do this quickly. So with inner classes, remember, if you have a class that exists inside of another class, right, it's called an inner class, right? So if I have class A, so let's call this outer class. Actually do this. And we have another class here. Make it public because we want to be able to access it outside of the outer class. So if you want to, so the question says, provide source code for instantiating this inner class, right? Which is non-static. As you can see, it's not static from outside the outer class. So outside the outer class, let's say in main, so then what we'd do is we would say outer class dot inner class, and that's the object, right? So inner class object is new outer class. Just do this here. New outer class dot inner class, right? So that's how you would create an instance of an inner class outside of the outer class. Right, so that's what the question is asking. And this is out of 4 marks. And how do you get those marks? So let's look at the breakdown. So in this case, you would have 1, 2, or let's say this would be 1, 2, 3 for the new keyword, and 4 for that, right? So that's how you get the marks for that. Yeah, so let's provide a definition for type erasure. So what is type erasure in Java? So this has to do with generics. What is type erasure in generics? Okay, so type erasure is basically when a type is, so remember with generics you can have 2 kinds of type parameters, right? So let's say this was a generic class. You could have T, or you could have T and let's say another class, right? So this is called a bounded type, right? So type erasure basically replaces T with the bounding type, right? That's what type erasure does. Or if you did not do this, if you just had that, then type erasure replaces T with object, right? Remember, object is the ancestor class for every class in Java. So if your compiler doesn't know what to replace T with, it'll replace it with object, right? So that's the basic idea behind type erasure. Okay, so that's that. So basically, if you explain that, it's a concept in generics, 1 mark, where the compiler replaces the type parameter t, right? Well, it could be anything, but it's the type parameter. It replaces that with object if it's an unbounded type, or it replaces it with its bounded type if it's a bounded type, right? So it replaces it with its bounding type. So if you explain that, then that would be type erasure. Okay. So to examples, give marks when one cannot explain. Yes, but just writing code alone is not going to give you any marks. So you have to write something and provide like an example. Yeah, so with regards to Java multi-threaded programming, what is the task? So remember, a task is basically like an executable unit of code that is separate from the rest of the program, right? That is what a task is. What is a thread? A thread is the execution of a task from start to finish, right? That is a thread. And then how are the two concepts related? A thread is a mechanism for running a task, right? That's the basic idea. So in a question like A, do you write everything you wrote? Yes. Oh, no. You only need to provide this. So you only need to provide that. So this was just to make you guys understand more, like the context, but you only need to write this. Yeah, so that's that. Do we say a task is runnable? Well, any instruction is runnable, right? If you say a task implements the runnable interface, also that doesn't really separate a task from a thread because the thread also implements the runnable interface, right? So rather mention explicitly that a task is a separate unit, program unit that is executed independently from the rest of the program. Okay, so design patterns. So this is the last question we're going to do today because it doesn't seem like um, looks like you guys are stressing about other things. I don't know what that is. So we'll do this last question and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so design pattern. You have decided to create a blog to raise awareness on good programming practices. You want readers to be able to subscribe to your blog so that they can receive notifications whenever you post new content. So, I mean, this is obvious already. You can see what's happening here. And they receive notifications. To achieve this, you must maintain a list of subscribers. And you must be able to add, remove, or notify subscribers. All right, so this is, I mean, it's obvious. It's the observer design pattern, right? Whenever there's new content, you want to use a design pattern to achieve this. You have reached out to your friends who are also programmers, and they helped you narrow down your options to the following 3 design patterns. Now you need to select the one that would be the most appropriate, right? So definitely not visitor. Visitor has nothing to do with this. Abstract factory has to do with creating objects, has nothing to do with this. It's definitely the observer design pattern. Oh, you guys are stressing about semester marks. Well, what's done is done at this point. There's no use stressing about it. Okay, so just work on doing your bonus practicals, right? That's as much as you can do about it. Okay, so, and also if you're writing the SSAs, then you can work on that as well. So which design pattern do you think would best fit the requirements? Oh yeah, so we did mention the observer design pattern. So by mentioning that, you get the 2 marks. Provide reasons for your choice of design pattern. So that would be Well, I mean, it's all in the question, right? So we need to create a platform where we can have subscribers, and then we want to be able to notify subscribers, want to be able to add subscribers, want to be able to remove subscribers, right? And want to maintain a list of subscribers. That's the observer design pattern. So you mention all of that, you get all your 4 marks. Discuss the limitations that would need to be considered before implementing the design pattern. So remember, again, uh, for this question, you need to know the limitations of the observer design pattern, right? So you need to study these lecture slides. So that would be design patterns part 4. And it's the observer design pattern. Okay, so what's the issue with the observer design pattern? So first of all, it's difficult to see the path through the code. So what that basically means is it's difficult to kind of trace like the logic that your code is following, because you have all of these um, subscribers, and you have like a list of observers. And remember, an observer can be an abstract class, and then you can have classes that inherits from the abstract class, right? So it can create a chain of observers, right? So that can make your code very, very complex. Second limitation is the subject holds a reference to the object until it's deregistered, which can cause memory leaks. Not so much of a worry in Java, right? But remember, design patterns are not just a Java thing, right? Design patterns are a programming thing. So you can implement design patterns in like C++, where you have pointers, right? And if you have an array list or an array of pointers to other objects, which are observers, and then you detach an observer, right? But you don't delete the pointer, right? That results in a memory leak, right? So this is what this means, that the subject has a reference to all the observers until they are deregistered, right? Which can cause memory leaks. So just be careful of that. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, so we'll stop here for today, and then tomorrow we'll just do the last questions. So the UML and the cold code. Okay, so thank you very much. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Enjoy the rest of your evening.